Hi guys, Mike the Mank here with another Warframe video. So if you're a new player to Warframe and you're wondering where do I even begin, how do I even get started with the game, where do I go, what do I do, what's the best Warframe to use, just where do I start? Hopefully this video will answer a lot of your questions if you are a new player. So to begin with, when you start Warframe for the very first time, you will be given 3 options or 3 frames to pick from. Now, the first one is Excalibur. He's kind of the pin-up boy of Warframe, if you'll call him that. He's the first one. The second one will be Mag. She is kind of a support frame, kind of a little bit of probably the hardest one to work out, I would say, for beginners. And the final one is Volt, and he's kind of a speedster, kind of a crowd control, and another good choice for a brand new player to the game. So, which of the frames do I recommend? Well, if we have a look at all the abilities, the first one being Excalibur. Out of all of the abilities, in my opinion, Excalibur has the strongest abilities, the strongest powers, and he has probably one of the best CC and crowd control abilities in the game, which is Radial Blind. Very, very strong, very good ability for crowd control. Also add on top of that is Exalted Blade, and he has a very, very strong 4th ability which can melt enemies easily up to level 50 and sometimes even above. If we have a look at Mag, Mag's a bit of a tricky one. And the reason that she's a tricky one is because you'll hear a lot of veteran players talk about synergy and talking about meshing of a Warframe's powers together to make them more effective, and Mag is very much kind of into that fold. She's somebody that I wouldn't recommend to a new player, only on the basis of that she can be quite confusing as to what her abilities actually do. So out of all of the frames, personally, she's very good, but for a brand new player trying to learn the game and trying to learn how to use powers, I wouldn't really go with Mag. And the final one is Volt. Volt, I would say, is a good choice for a brand new player. Me personally, I picked Volt. He was the one that I picked when I first started playing the game. He's a decent Warframe. He's not too squishy, or he does take a little while to to take down, to kill. His abilities, I would say, are not as good as Excalibur's. There's only a couple that I would say that are very useful. His shield is very, very useful for defense missions, which obviously there is a lot in this game to do, as well as mobile defense missions, so they're useful. And his discharge is very good at CCing, so that's always very, very useful. You'll find yourself probably using his 4th probably the most. His shock is kind of a stun, doesn't really do a lot of damage, but it also doesn't use a lot of energy. And finally, speed. Really, you kind of only really use that to zip around levels quickly and do exterminates and get stuff done quicker, really, if I'm honest. But it's pretty cool. So, which one would I personally use? Now, for me, I would go with Excalibur, because out of all of the abilities, he's probably the strongest. So, yeah, go with Excalibur. Also, I would use him because he is probably the hardest to farm. So, get him now while you can at the very beginning. So, here is the star chart, and this is where you're going to be spending most of your time on Warframe. These are where all the missions are, these are where all the bosses are, and these are all the ways in which you will get all of the different Warframes that you want to get, okay? Now, each of the Warframes drops from a boss on each of the planets, okay? So on this particular, on Earth, for example, is Vahek. So he will drop a certain Warframe for you, but he will drop a Warframe. That is the same throughout every single planet. So a big tip for me to give you guys is to make sure that you do all of the nodes. The nodes, by the way, are all the little levels, all the little dots. Okay, so make sure you go through them all. Obviously, you'll from the start, I think you have to do Vor's Prize, which is in a previous video, to open up the Plains of Eidolon, as well as Cetus. That's the latest brand new update to Warframe, which is the first open world that DE and Warframe have actually created. Fantastic place. But you can only unlock that after you've done the very first mission, so make sure you do that. Here are the different tabs. So these are the tabs that you will look at. So the first one is the events, which is the Acolytes, which is a random thing that's going to be going very, very shortly. You've then got your quest tab, which is obviously where your active quests are that you need to complete. Here you've got your alerts. Now these change consistently on an hour-to-hour basis, and they vary in rewards that they'll give you. Then we've got invasions. Again, they're kind of like alerts. They'll change all the time. Locations change, different enemies change. as well as different drops. Sometimes you have to do some of these 3 times to get a certain part, so make sure you keep an eye on them. Syndicates these are something that you will start doing the more that you progress, and again, by increasing your reputation with a said syndicate, you will get a reward or a relic or a weapon or a weapon part or a blueprint. And finally, we've got the void fishes or the relics, and these are the things that will drop all of the prime weapons as well as the prime parts for you. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then finally, we've got the sortie, which is pretty much end game of Warframe, barring the raids. So this is the thing that you do at end game, and these start around about level, you're talking about a level 50 upwards. So this is very difficult content, and this is something that you shouldn't really do until you are well established and you understand pretty much everything that there is to know about how to use your frames and how to play the game. So they're the tabs. If we have a look here, where I'm scrolling at the moment, you'll see something that's called a junction. Now, these are massively important for you to do, because these are the only things that are going to allow you to go to the next planet and to open up the next planet. Doing junctions as well not only opens up the next planet, if you have a look as well on the table there on the left hand side, you'll also see that completing the junction will also give you rewards for doing so. And if you do all the objectives that it says, it will give you the reward at the end, as well as opening up the junction, okay? Now, when you go in the junction, you'll have to face a spectre of a certain Warframe. Essentially, you have to go on a one-on-one fight and try and defeat that Warframe to make sure that you open up that rail. After you've done that, then the next planet will open up. So on this particular part, if you defeat the Warframe on that junction, you'll open up Mars. And then you'll have to do rinse and repeat. You have to do all the nodes again. Each planet has kind of the same nodes. It's always a defense. It's always a mobile defense. It's always a survival, it's always an exterminate, it's always a rescue, it's always a spy, as well as many, many, many more that they've added. So they're always very similar, they're always kind of the same, and yeah, pretty much that's the way it goes. So as soon as you've done one junction, you do the planets, you do all the nodes, and rinse and repeat, okay? As well as you're getting all the rewards from doing the objectives to open the junctions, and, you know, slowly but surely it teaches you about how to play the game. And like I said, opening up the next planet opens up the next boss, which then opens up the next Warframe. I think on Mars with Lieutenant Lech Krill, I think he's Frost. So I think Frost drops from that guy, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm pretty sure Frost drops from him. In terms of recommendation, if you're looking to see like what Warframe should I get after I've used Excalibur or whoever it is and leveled them up, you wanna basically get to Fossa and Venus. Okay, and on Fossa, he drops Rhino. So if you keep farming Fossa, keep farming the Jackal, which is the boss there, you'll get Rhino. Now that we've talked about that, you've understood that a little bit. I always get asked on my streams, well, how do you mod? How do you mod your Warframe? How do you mod your weapons? I don't really know what to do. I don't really know what's good or what's, you know, how to make my Warframe strong and do the powers that I want it to do and just be really, really good. So I'm going to show you quickly how to mod a Warframe and a weapon, so that you guys get a general gist of what's going on, and then you can do the same, progress that way. So, when you're modding for the first time, the first thing in which you need to look out for is you need to look for what are called polarities. Okay? Now, the polarities are the little symbols that you see in the mod section. So, as you can see with Mirage here that I've got in front of me, she has 5 different polarity symbols. So, the name of the game really is like a jigsaw puzzle. You have to kind of match the particular mod with that polarity. And what it'll do is if you match it with the right polarity, it actually gives you more space and it gives you more mod points to play with. So yeah, as you can see, I'm looking at different polarities. So the first thing that I always look at, for me personally, is I always start off with the aura mod, which can give you a different set of kind of stats or different abilities. So it can give you more energy, it can improve your melees, it can improve your health regen. There's loads of them, absolute loads of them. I personally always start off with that. So if we start off with that, so I'm going to probably put in, I think, corrosive projection, which I put on most of my frames. It's a really good aura mod. Reduces enemy armor, which is a big thing, especially when you get to end game, higher level. So I always start off with that. You could throw in energy siphons, really good. You could throw that in. The good thing about Warframe is that there is no set way. You can use the frame to exactly how you want to use that frame. to match the playstyle that you want, okay? So for me, I'm going to go with probably a lot of duration with Mirage because she's a very kind of power dependent frame. So I'm going to put in Prime Flow, I think would be better. It gives you a more of a larger energy pool. Probably then I'm going to pick Prime Continuity. Again, that's kind of an essential mod. I'll go over essential mods very shortly. So I'm going to go with Prime Continuity. Probably the next one then is probably going to be maybe Vigor. So I go with Prime Vigor because again that's added health and a bit more shields for her. It's just something that's a bit more useful. I then go with Narrow Minded in the other one so that I've got more duration but at the cost of range, but you can balance it out as you'll see what I'll do very shortly. So the next one that I'm looking for now is one of the syndicate mods, and those are the things that drop when I was mentioning earlier about doing your syndicates and ranking up in your syndicates. They are the rewards that you can get, that you can buy. So that's one of hers. I've used another one with Total Eclipse, but I'm pretty sure I take that out in a little bit. I'm going to go with Streamline. Streamline's quite essential because again it just makes sure that you use your powers more effectively, meaning that you can use them more. And I use Stretch to make sure that I try and bring my range back up to kind of normal so that overall I can be more effective. So that's kind of in a way really how polarity works. It's as long as you match it, then you're fine. In terms of what essential mods are that I would name, I would probably name, I think at the moment I'm trying to go here with an Eximus mod. Can't remember which one I go for. I think I take out Total Eclipse and I put in Intensity just for a bit more added strength. So essentially it does a little bit more damage on certain abilities. And I think I'm going with an Eximus mod. Yeah, Cunning Drift. So that adds again a bit more range onto my abilities. But if I'm going to talk about what I would say are essential mods that you'll want to get and you'll be using all the time. The first one is Vitality, and that's your health. Now, I don't really think I need to explain that one. Steel Fibre is your armor, which is quite important because some frames are quite squishy. Redirection is your shield capacity, so again, that's kind of important for your health and making sure that you have enough shields. And that's pretty much it. I think we've got as well Continuity. Some of the Augur mods there quite new to planes. Fleet and Expertise is good. Flow is very important because that's your energy. That's your energy pool. Stretch is quite important, and yeah, they're just some of them. Going on to I think we're going to go on to the weapons. You do the same thing with your weapons that you do with your Warframe. So you match up the polarities that you have with the mods that you have available to you to make sure that you make the most of your mod space. Now, every time you level up your weapon up to level 30, which is the max rank for a weapon or a Warframe, it will increase that number, okay? So because my Zor at the moment, if you can see it, is only level rank 28, I only have 60 capacity to play with. That'll increase when I get it to level 30. So at the moment, I've got to be quite careful in terms of what I'm going to use. So I'm going to use the polarities that are available to me to try and get the most out of my mods to make the weapon as effective as possible. Okay. Now, one of the key ones for your weapons is Pressure Point. I've got the Prime version, so I'm going to use that because obviously it's stronger. But if you've got Prime Pressure Point, always use that. It's raw damage. Use it. The same with Reach. I've got Prime Reach. It's something that I prefer it. I just think it's very good. Cause more damage at a larger radius. Maiming Strike is a Acolyte mod. Very, very difficult mod to get, but it's a very good one. Very useful for me personally with my playstyle with melee weapons, so that's why I always kind of run with Maiming Strike. Oh, it's Drifting Contact, which is, yeah, it's more status. The thing that you want to look out, or the thing that you want to look at when you're doing a weapon, is you want to check the stats of the weapon from the very beginning, okay? And basically you make the decision based on, for me personally, it's based on crit chance or status chance, okay? Or you can try and balance them to make it either or. Now, I'm going to do a separate video at some point later on, in which I'll try and explain status to you, as well as crit, and which I think is more effective. There is going to be a change very soon to melee on the game in Warframe, in which I think that status is going to be probably not as powerful as it is at the moment, as well as Slash. Slash is very powerful in terms of a prop. I do expect to be a lot of changes to the game when they bring out this new update for the melee. So that's the modding. That's how you mod your weapons and your Warframes. This is the Foundry. So this is something that's very, very important. This is something that will get explained to you when you first play the game. And this is the place where you build all of your stuff. So as you can see, I've got 10 Cypher there. that has been built. Now, you build everything here. You build your weapons, you build your warframes, you build your materials to make the warframes, make the weapons, everything. Everything is built here. So you'll be coming to this quite a lot in this game. So as you can see, I've got all these things here that are available to me once I have the materials. The thing with Warframe that a lot of people do not realize is that a lot of Warframe is about material farming. That is pretty much what it's about, because you need the materials in order to get the best stuff. That's why I always say to new players, you need a lot of patience playing Warframe, because it's required from you. You're not always going to have the materials or the minerals or just the parts to build it. So that's the Foundry. You will get explained that and told about that when you first play the game. This is the mod station. This can be a little bit overwhelming to a new player, so I'm going to explain this very, very quickly. So the mod station is essentially where all your mods are collected and are duplicated, and this is where you can increase the power by what's called fusion. Now what it is you use a currency which is new to the game, or an element which is called Endo. Endo you can collect by doing missions. You'll see it'll be like little white ball things that are dropped on the ground, and you just keep collecting it. And that's what you spend to increase a mod. So if I increase this at the moment, as you can see, it's going to cost me a lot of Endo. I think it's like 620, and it's going to cost me like around about 29,000, whatever that number is, to make sure that I apply the full rank fusion to that particular mod. Okay, but then that's the full power. Obviously, prices for infusing your mods increases depending on the mod. So if you have a prime mod, it's going to be even more expensive. If you have the gold mod, it's going to be even more expensive, but worth doing it. So that's the mods. That's how you infuse your mods. You also do it with river mods. River mods are things that you'll collect from doing sorties, and these are things that you will re-roll to try and get better perks and blah blah blah. But I'll make another video about river mods probably in the very near future. So finally, you're probably now thinking, well, I've done all the planets, Mike. I've done all of the stuff that you've talked about. Where are the best places to farm, to get these materials? Well, the first one is going to be IO, and this is a Corpus area, okay? But this is really good for polymer bundles, and also very good for leveling up. So if you're looking for places to level up very quickly and get focus very quickly, these are really good places that I'm going to mention to you. The next one is a very popular one, and that's Helena on Saturn. Very, very, very popular place for leveling up your warframes, your weapons, and getting more focus. So very, very handy is Helena. Another one is Hydron. That's another one that is very, very useful. That I believe is in Sedna. So that's a very, very useful one. Next one is Kalarazar. Kalarazar is a high level defense mission with Infested. But if you're running it with a good squad, you should have no problems there. And hopefully with a Necros, you'll get good stuff, as well as you'll get relics. Zinni, again, is a very popular one because you get very good relics from Zinni. You get a lot of axes from Zinni, as well as Neos. So, yeah, very, very good place to farm. You will level up quite a bit there, probably not as much as a defense mission or a survival, but nevertheless, because of the higher level that you do, the more in which you'll get XP-wise. So, we've also got the Void as well. The Void is also a good place. We've got Mott, which is the survival, very good survival. Again, you should get relics dropping from that the longer that you stay there. And that's pretty much how it works. Again, survivals are very good for leveling. Belenis, defense again, pretty good. It is difficult. There's going to be a lot of corrupted enemies there. Corrupted are some of the strongest in terms of armor in the game. So be wary of that if you are new. Don't tackle that if you are not fully leveled up. Can't emphasize that enough. So finally, I'm going to talk about how to get prime weapons and prime warframes. Now, there is a new way to get it, and they're called relics. And if you remember when I mentioned earlier about the tabs on the star charts, there is something that you can do which is called relic runs or relic missions. Now, this is the Void and the relic table. And this table shows you all the different relics in the game that you have, as well as what is available from that relic. And the way that it works is, so if you can see on the right hand side, for example, any of the items that are in brown that have got the longest blue line means that they are the most common to drop from that relic. Okay? The smaller the line, the rarer the chance it is that you are going to get that specific item from that relic. Also add on top of this that you will be running relics with other players, and they will also have picked a certain relic out. So a lot of this is based on RNG. There is a way in which you can improve the chances of getting a certain item that you want, however. And I will be showing you. So if you have a look here now on the right, you'll see an exceptional, flawless and radiant refinement, or what's also known as fissures, or fissure juice I call it. So if you add any of this onto that said relic, you'll see that it increases the drop chance of you getting a certain part. So if I wanted, for example, an Akbronco Prime Link, if I make that a radiant, which I'm going to do right now, I have a greater chance than I did if I left it. And that's pretty much how it works. You get the relic juice or the fissure juice or whatever you want to call it, the void. You get that, again, from running the relic missions. So the more in which you run, the more of the energy in which you will get. So don't worry about it, you will get it, you'll get enough to do it. If you don't have enough to use, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes it will drop if somebody else has used theirs or used their radiant or flawless relics. So don't be too disheartened if you haven't got enough energy. And as you can see, there's loads of different relics. These all drop from defense missions, from survival missions, from interception missions. Most of these drop from the areas in which I mentioned a little while ago, and a lot of these can also drop from derelict missions. They can pretty much drop from pretty much any mission, really. So these are all different ones. As you're going along on the table, these are the more difficult relics to obtain, to get. So as you're going into kind of Neos now and Axes, you're going into, really you want to be going into higher level defense missions, higher level interception missions like your Zinnies, you know, your Calorazars that I mentioned earlier. They're the places in which you're going to be getting some of these relics, and these are some of the relics that are the most valuable, that have the, not, I wouldn't say the best loot, but they have the rarest loot, or in some cases the newest prime stuff that's come out in the game. So as you can see, I've refined some of them again to make sure, see if I can get any of the parts. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much it. I hope that this information's been invaluable to you as a new player. Even if you've played it for a little bit, I hope that it's taught you some new things about the game. And most importantly, I hope it's helped you to kind of get more familiar with Warframe and realise what a fantastic game it is. And yeah, I will leave it there, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you do make sure to give it a like and a thumbs up. If you want any more content, make sure to subscribe. And until the next time, guys, I will see you then. Bye-bye.